Hi, I thought it would be useful if I shared with you some things that are really important for me that are happening in the moment. And that is mostly about the unfolding process of examining what I call four girl. Four girl technically is the fourth daughter on a birth order level, but it also corresponds to many other processes and feelings and opportunities. This is the what's called the four girl month. The first month of the equinox is what's called the two girl or the feeling of individuality month. And then it's directly connected into the next month, which is the four girl month. Now, each month has a different skill set that is available to be experienced and or learned. And I'm really applying my personal development to follow each one of these and go beyond anything that I might have known before. So I wanted to share with you about the four girl function. That function is a series of automatic functions and a series of choices that to enlist it higher. So the four girl function, I can define it as the heart, for one thing. It is also that part of the heart that receives the blood physically. It's that part of the heart that is the container for the heart. For me, that's the skin of the heart. That's the pericardium physically. It's also related to the organ, sometimes a gland, that is the function of the spleen, where the blood goes first to be purified. Now, that's really only the basics because it also has other things about cleaning and elimination. All of the processes of cleaning the body have to pass through this orientation. But to give you a different perspective of it, it corresponds to that time of the night, typically, when you go to sleep. Now, I know that's variable for people, but I'm saying anytime you choose to leave the physical, material, mental world and to go into sleep, that's the four girl mechanism. That's the time period of transition from one reality, the material, mental world, the one involved in these senses, and you transition into, by choice, you chose the time you went to bed, to go into something nobody's quite sure what's out there. You can call it the sleep state, you can call it the spirit world, you can call it the void, you can call it nothing if you want. But that's the time period when we go into. Now, right in that same moment is an instrument of transition. It's an instrument of metamorphosis. It's an instrument of letting go. It's an instrument of change. It is the instrument for genuine growth, meaning literally, without being able to do that, you can't change. You can't receive. So the instrument of cleaning is also the instrument of receiving. So it lets go and it receives. So in the process of leaving your body at night, where you're actually going, from my comprehension and experience, is you're going into the sleep state, you're going into the spirit world. Where you go has a lot to do with what was happening with you during the day, because you step into that leaving point by orienting yourself to act out something beautiful or act out something violent, because that transition will move you to where your actual heartfelt desire is. Now, there's an opportunity available there to recognize that the design of this part of you is connected to the one before and the one after. So the one before that we're identifying as peace, the sunset experience of peace being the actualization of the feeling presence of who I am really. I want to be me, and I want to be my authentic me as it was by my own clarity and intention. I want to be the authentic me as it was intended to be from a higher perspective. It doesn't have to be your way to do it, but that's what my feeling or experience is of the first 2 hours after sunset. The second 2 hours that begins at 8 o'clock, between 8 and 10, is this whole process of transition. Now, later on, you find out that this process of transition, which is also corresponding to the caterpillar that becomes a liquid to become a butterfly. We're talking about emancipation. We're talking about liberation. We're talking about a feeling where you go through something that is scary, like going to sleep into the dark. Some people, when they start to go to sleep, they jerk, they get frightened, they come back, they do things. Yeah, it's a scary process to let go, to genuinely transform. This single location may be the most significant skill set that you will learn if you want to learn, because you're not required to learn it. It will operate automatically when you die. You'll transition from the material body, and whether you like it or not, you'll go into a location and you will go through a process of transformation as you move on. That will happen automatically. The very cool part about this same location is the degree to which you can personally mobilize or utilize this same place. You can choose, for example, to accept, not judge. You can choose to receive or not receive. You can choose to share or not share. There's so many things you can do right there. You can choose to receive a feeling from a friend, or you can choose not to. The same instrument that does that is the same intentional instrument that's yours. Now, you can do something about a receiving function when you go into, for example, gratitude. Ah, thank you. You just used the same instrument. You received something. So a receiving function is also a releasing function. I know that sounds odd, but the entire physical body is changing cells all the time. It must release old cells to provide the space for new cells to enter. Now, the same thing isn't true about the increase of consciousness. We have to let go of our, if you will, lower consciousness, our pain, our suffering, our facade, our addictions, our whatever it is. We need to gradually use this instrument to let go of pain in our personal life that's causing disease and suffering and causing us to do things that are damaging to the world. We can't do that if we refuse to acknowledge it. We can't do it without using this particular instrument with intention. Meaning, I'm not required to forgive someone, but I can make a difference if I choose to use the instrument of forgiveness. I might be able to receive divine love, but I have to make a choice that I want to receive it or be involved in it. And then you might discover that in order to receive divine love, you have to remove the impediments that stop you from receiving it. So you can't receive something like it's like trying to put a new car in your garage and it's packed full of garbage. So the process of letting go is the process of receiving. Now, this is a pretty wild place, because the interesting thing about it is it can be intensely selective. Meaning, for example, you don't want to say, okay, I'm open to everything. I'm open, I'm transparent, yes, I want to receive everything. No, sorry, I wouldn't recommend that, because there's a lot of unkind, unloving situations and environments around you. And yes, I'm sorry, but evil does exist. There are people that do want to suppress you, control you, manipulate you. Yes, 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 that's all there. And it goes higher and higher. So, do you really want to accept and receive genocide that's gone on for thousands of years? No, I wouldn't recommend it. Do you really want to receive things that are damaging, ugly, just because they exist? The animosity between men and women over gender control, do you really want to receive that for thousands of years? No, I urge you to not do that. You can go ahead and try, because yes, you can try to receive it, but you find out later it's not yours to resolve. The only thing that you would really need to resolve is your contribution to it. Your contribution to universal suffering is your responsibility, but it's not your responsibility to resolve it for everyone else. So that's why it's a personal choice. There's a whole series of things in this one simple place. But for example, in this same place, there's something else. This, on the other side of the heart of the receiving function, is the giving function. So there is a giving function. The receive and send, receive and send. That's a function of the heart. Receive and send, receive and send. The sending part of the heart is the joy-like celebration, giving of the pumping of the heart, where we have the ability, if we choose to do it, to increase the lives of others by a friendship, an alliance. We can do things, perhaps, just as a perhaps, the most significant form of love on earth is a fraternal love, the actual love designed from a higher level to increase each other. That's why we hear this whole term, love one another. Yeah, so the loving another is coupled to the same other side of the heart, which means in order to be able to receive love from someone else, you need to be able to want to give love. And you find out this is a circulation. You can't receive friendship if you're not going to engage in receiving it and circulating it. Wow, I know this is a lot, but I'm in the middle of this myself, looking at the whole dynamics about how this month is a transition. In the Northern Hemisphere during this month, and I'm sure in the Southern Hemisphere during the corresponding month of their own for girl, the leaves are falling. The cool of winter is arriving, the autumn, and the transformation of colors is profound. And it's a whole process of letting go. This is the for girl function leading into the pristine whiteness of winter. In the same way that 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. opens the gate to higher consciousness. The stars are not visible when the sun is up, but usually around 8 in the evening, or sometimes shortly before, depending on where you're living, or in the summer season, a little later, you can see the stars. Now, the same thing is true when you go to sleep. You go horizontal, you go from vertical to horizontal, you let go, you bathe, you clean, you go into the realm of stars. I mean, it shows us the instrument of long-term progress. I'm saying this instrument is not just in the physical world, it's holographic into the spirit world as well. So our ability to be able to progress higher and higher into celestial mysteries that we will not comprehend for a very long time is because of this instrument called the free will to open one's own heart, to change, the sincere desire to want to grow by changing one's heart. Later on, you find out that a whole bunch of that information is encoded in crystals on the skin of your heart, meaning literally the physical heart has a skin, has a two-walled skin called the pericardium that science doesn't really have a use for other than it's a little protection for the heart. It literally has a memory. It has a memory of every unkind, unloving thing that's ever been sent by you or received by you. It has a memory, and it might be as numerous as sand on a beach. And sooner or later, that whole process of cleaning the heart is a process of letting go. It has to be an intentional choice to want to participate in something higher. That's why this instrument, I'm overwhelmed with the significance of how it actually functions. I can't say to you, I know how it functions. I don't even have 1% of the comprehension about how that function of the heart is affected by grief and sorrow and bitterness, rage and hurt, and how it's transformed by the experience of friendship and love and compassion, how to actually do that with a clear intention. So I'm sharing with you my process. This just happens to be right in the middle of the month of For Girl. And I'm just feeling it. And my invitation, what I notice about this is the opportunity to experience an extension of the boundaries of that by the willingness to sincerely desire to receive friendship from other people. Friendship is the precursor to the experience of fraternal love, meaning it is the beginning of the process of learning to give and receive. You can say that you have profound love for all humanity, and I'm sorry, it's just not true. You might need to examine why you feel that way, and you can find out, oh yeah, I have love for all humanity. Yeah, but do you really have a friend that you can give and receive and be your authentic self and receive their authentic self no matter what they do? You don't judge it, you receive it. You know how difficult it is to not judge? I can't do it because oftentimes I'm watching a movie and I'm in reaction, and that reaction is actually a form of triggered emotional response that's already geared into my subtle field to be reactive at a movie that I know is not true, but I'm still in reaction. So if I'm in reaction by a trigger, I haven't yet cleaned my heart enough to be able to actually receive another human being. So I'm inviting you to be my friend. I mean, I'm literally wanting to learn how to extend my own invitation to be a friend to the people around me, whether they're in my immediate space or not. I'm not talking about a generalization of friends. I'm talking about learning to have a relationship with one specific friend at a time and increasing that number. Because there is a miraculous process at that For Girl level. Because there's a mathematics that comes out of that. So if you add 1 to 1, well, there's something there that's actually more than 1 to 1, giving and receiving. It may be a 3 or a 5, meaning your degree of love that you can begin to learn and share through that friendship is not arithmetic, which means to each person that you include into the experience of giving and receiving love with, the love that you can share with everyone else goes up, well, exponentially at least. So I'm encouraging you to consider that, yes, the world is in a very difficult place. It seems at times that it's on the precipice of chaos. And for me, the primary answer is you. Sounds weird, but the primary answer is how I feel about you and how you feel about me. So who causes the pandemic and all the suffering? We do, by how we treat each other. And I'm saying that just a gentle step toward, yes, I have to do my own work and you have to do yours. We reach a place where we decide that we want to learn how to do that for the specific intention of elevating each other's degree of love, so that we enable ourselves to serve other people with compassion at a higher degree. Well, that's for girls today. Give me another day or a week, because my goal is to continuously increase it by intention, to intentionally want to grow my for girl instrument, and then share with you where I am in the process, and you can do with it or not do with it however you want. That's the beauty of For Girl. You can make a choice. So I chose to make this video for you today. And it's very much like this bubble, by the way. This is just a soap bubble. That's all it is. But inside of this, it has a container, and the magnitude of the feeling inside this beautiful container is the magnitude of love that I can hold within myself to share with others. This is what the For Girl does. It makes bubbles. It makes little ones and it makes bigger ones, and then it makes really big ones. Some of those really big ones are a little shocking. So that's where I am. I'll talk to you again one day. See ya.